Good morning. Welcome back to Strive Academy's live experiments. I have lots of helpers today. So we have been quarantining with our neighbors, so don't worry, we're practicing social distancing. But these are neighbors that we are quarantining with, so I have 5 awesome helpers today. So we have a 5th grader, a 6th grader, get in a little bit, Tom. A 1st grader, a kindergartner, and a 3rd grader. So welcome back, and we are excited to see everyone. Marley's watching. You want to say hi to Marley?
Hi, Marley.
And your cousins are watching. You guys want to say hi to your cousins?
Hi, Amber.
And Amber and Peyton and Bexley. So we're going to give everyone a few minutes to get on our Facebook page. Today our experiment is going to be putting things into plastic eggs in water and seeing if they float or sink. Can you guys say hi to Ma?
Hi, Mom.
And if you don't have, and there's
Daddy.
Mama.
Hi, Mama.
If you don't have, is that Daddy? Sorry, I can't read from this
Hi,
far away.
Daddy.
I'm getting old. If you don't have plastic Easter eggs like this, you can just use any kind of plastic container. As long as you keep it consistent with each trial, that's totally fine. What we did is we just found some bowls. As long as they're clear, that's what you're looking for. And again, we each have a plastic egg. In the cups, we just have water that they're going to put in the bowls. And then we just found some random materials around our house to test. So we have a couple different things that we'll share in a minute. But we're just going to give everyone a few minutes to get on and get their supplies and get ready to go. Just a couple side notes. Number 1, if you go on our webpage at striveacademy.org, you'll see that next week we're going to do an experiment with Alka-Seltzer. And that's maybe a material that you don't have at home. So we are sending out Alka-Seltzer for free. If you need some, you can fill out the Google form on our website, again at striveacademy.org. We'll take that form until the end of the week, and then we'll get them shipped out for next week. Also, on Monday, we posted our very first digital breakout. That is also on our website. And that's just something that you can do at home for fun. All you need is a device, maybe a piece of paper and a pencil to figure out the codes. But really, you can just let your kids go with that, and maybe they won't bother you for a half hour or so. But you can try to solve the clues and put the answers in on our website, on the Google site, and let us know any feedback on that. So we're really excited about that. Oh, do you guys want to say hi to your grandpa?
Hi.
Awesome. Okay, so if you're just joining us, welcome. What the materials are today is just some sort of see-through bowl, some kind of container that you can put stuff in. We're using plastic eggs. We just have water in these cups. And then we just found a few materials around our house that we're going to test today. So Harper, why don't you hold up one of each? So one of them is going to test goldfish. One of them is going to test some little screws. We've got some wire nuts, I think is what my husband told me. I don't really know what those are.
Paper clips.
We have paper clips and we have pennies. So you can be as creative as you want. You can use any material that you can find. Anything that fits into your container would be good. And what we're investigating today is both the density and the buoyancy of these materials that we put into the egg, or whatever container it is. So we're going to check out, does it sink or does it float? And that all has to do with density, which is how compact, say hi to Mama.
Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama.
Density is how compact an object is, so how many particles can be squeezed into a certain amount of space. So for example, a golf ball, can you get that paper for me, please? A golf ball and a ping pong ball are about the same size, but the golf ball is much more dense because it has more material packed into the space. We're also going to be looking at a little bit of buoyancy, which is how well do things float. Come on. Okay, so we are going to get started here. On your paper, the first thing that you're going to want to do is fill in the title, which is will it sink or float? Let's go ahead and fill that in. And then for the hypothesis today, we are going to just list the materials that you're using. And next to each material, you're going to list if it sinks or if you think, if your guess, is that it's going to sink or float. And remember, it's totally fine for your hypothesis to be wrong. That's all part of the scientific method. So we're going to make some hypotheses here. All right, so let's start with the penny. Can you hold up a penny? Okay, girls, what do you think is going to happen, Dylan? Sink or float? When we put, we're going to put 5 of each material into each egg.
I think it's gonna sink because when we do the boat thing, the pennies sink.
Okay, Lila?
I think it'll float.
Okay. Cece?
I think it's gonna sink.
Sink. Bailey?
Sink.
Harper?
Sink.
Okay. Paper clips. Harper, what do you think?
I think they're going to float.
Okay, who else thinks it's going to float?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody thinks float.
Okay, now
How about the wire nuts, I
nuts.
think is what they are. Who said, Cece, what do you think?
I think they're gonna float.
Float? Who thinks that they're going to float?
I
Who
think
thinks
they're
that they're going to
because
sink?
all the water will go into the.
Okay, we'll see. That'll be a good one to try.
The screws.
The screws. Bailey, what do you think?
Sink because they have floors at the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Sink?
Sink.
And goldfish?
Maybe it's gonna float. I think it's gonna float. I think it's gonna sink. Sink.
Okay.
Maybe because wait, actually, I think it's gonna float because when I have Cheerios and milk, my Cheerios float.
Okay. There you go. Now, that's a great observation that we're using water and not something like milk. So that's one of our extensions is maybe testing.
Hi, Todd.
Oh, hey, Todd. Is maybe testing some other liquids later. So as you can see, you can have a great conversation about your hypotheses and, ask your kids what they think will happen and why. It doesn't have to be very scientific. They can talk about things having holes in them or being heavy or light or things like that. Next, for their picture, they're going to draw what they think will happen to each egg. So they're going to draw the item and then show if they think it's going to be sinking or floating. And depending on the age of your kid, you can make that more visual or more written, however you want to do it. When you start to test, what you're going to do is, all right, girls, take the eggs out of the bowl. So first we're going to pour some water into the bowls.
Who's a bowl? All of the water or just some?
Is that up to you? You probably want a little bit more.
I'm
Are you
gonna
gonna
pour
do it
all my
yourself?
water. Me too. But I had barely any water, so.
Do you need some more?
Do you think is this good or?
That's fine.
I think I might.
If you feel like you need more, just go fill the cup up and go get some more.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to.
Okay. So once you have water in the bowl, what you're going to do is open up the egg or whatever container you're using and put your items in there. Again, just to keep it consistent, we are doing 5 of each item. So we didn't want there to be a variable with how many we were using. So we're just doing 5 of each item. I want you guys to give me your cup. Okay.
I got pennies.
And these girls already decided what they were doing ahead of time.
Then what do you have? Pennies.
So they're each gonna try a different material.
What do you have? I have goldfish. Cece has. Yeah. Wire nuts. And Bailey has paper clips, and I have strips.
Okay.
Ready? 3,
2, 1. Go ahead and drop them in and see what
They
happens.
all floated.
Everything floats?
They all floated because of the egg.
Okay, so that's a great
Mom,
observation is that it has to do with the egg.
But
Now,
can we try without the egg? Because it has.
now, what do you
It would
girls
sink if it wasn't
what
in
do you
the
girls
egg.
think will happen if we put more
So what more of what?
of the items?
I think it'll still
Like what if we have 10 instead of 5?
I think it'll
Okay.
Can we try without the egg and see if it floats? Yeah, because I think it's because of the egg and that's why it's floating.
Okay, sure.
Okay, ready guys? Okay. You see, mine all sunk. I was right. Mine sinks. Mine sinks. Yeah, mine was I was right for my observation. I was right for these two.
Okay.
I knew they were. Mine flew.
So, okay, hang on a sec, girls. Hang on. Nobody can hear us. Okay, so, you know, we're at home doing this just like you, and of course our house is as crazy as everyone else's. So when you find, you know, as you're doing the experiment that your kids want to kind of veer from the directions, that's great. This is all part of the scientific method and exploring. And so what these girls did is they said, well, since it was floating with the egg, what would happen if we put it in without the egg? And so feel free to let them experiment. What I'm going to have them try next when we're done with this video is putting 10 of the item in the egg or 20 of the item in the egg and seeing if adding more weight to it affects it. As you test your items, you're underneath data, you're going to list the items again and tell us if it did float or sink. Under results, we're going to ask you to make 2 columns, and in one column label it floats, and the other column label it sinks, and go ahead and make a list of your items in the correct column. For the analysis questions today, number 1, we want to know were your hypotheses correct, any of them, and which ones were they? Number 2, if the items float in water, are they more or less dense than water? If the items sink in water, are they more or less dense than water? Question number 3. We know, or we're telling you, that water has a density of 1 gram per milliliter. So if something sinks in water, does that mean that its density is greater or less than 1? And if something floats in water, does that mean that its density is greater or less than 1? Sure. What would you like to say?
If something has air in it, like a ball, it will float because it has to have air. But if it doesn't have air, since these pennies don't, that's why they don't float, because they don't have any air inside of them.
Okay, so something to think about is air more or less dense than water. We have also some extensions that you can do. We would encourage you to try this with different liquids. So maybe something that you have a lot of in your house. We don't want you to waste anything right now. But maybe try it with Gatorade or orange juice. Just do 1 bowl of it and see what happens. Oh, thank you. Are you giving me a massage? As we said when we were testing, maybe try to add more of the item to the egg and see what happens. One of the things that we want you to do is just look up what is density, maybe even what is buoyancy, to see the difference between them. And then the question of the day, so how can something that is super heavy still float on water or on any liquid? So imagine that you're out on a lake on a boat and the boat's floating on water, or you see a big log floating on water. How can something that's so heavy still float and not sink? So hold on, this is something for people to think about. Anyway, thank you for joining in with our chaos today. We hope that you guys are enjoying doing these things at home. This video will be posted to our Facebook page. It's also going to be posted to our website. So you can go to striveacademy.org and see the video anytime. You can also get the worksheets from there. Be sure to post your pictures and comments for us on our Facebook page. Use the hashtag Strive with Steve. No. Use the hashtag Steam with Strive. Too much talking today. I can't get the words out. And we'd also love, any suggestions for things that you want to see from us. So we hope that you enjoy this. Check out our website. Don't forget there's a digital breakout. There's an Alka-Seltzer form to fill out if you need some of that. And have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Del. Hit finish.